This conference will now be recorded.
Hey everybody, it's 2:30 on Wednesday. It is time for our Monday through Thursday 2:30 podcast. This is a podcast where you will hear the truth about what actually happened in the opioid crisis. And if you've been a listener for a while, you know I'm going through the process of writing the book. It's right here on the desk in front of me. I want to get this process completed. And as I'm writing the book, you know I'm going through and looking at some of the stuff that's important to be in the book. And I was looking at this image this morning, the one that's on the screen in front of you, and I just we're using this image in the book, and I want people to know exactly what this image is, because you look at it and it can be confusing. Okay, and what you're looking at here is the actual evidence of poisoning. That's what this is. You're looking at actual evidence of poisoning. This is what scientific evidence of poisoning looks like. Okay, and you see at the bottom there, you see the blue and the red. Okay, you see that the red columns are taller than the blue columns. Well, the blue columns are opioid naives. The blue columns are people who have never taken opioids before. And the red columns are our people, opioid dependent, people who took the opioids long enough that when they tried to stop taking the opioids, they got sick. And that's what the bottom is telling you. And each of the sites where the red is bigger than the blue, that's where the poisoning occurred. And underneath the columns, you can actually see the addresses. And then above there, that's how the genetics people portray a gene, a part of the DNA. Okay, that's what it looks like. It may not mean a whole lot to you and me, but it means a whole lot to them. That's what a gene looks like. That's what DNA looks like. That's how they do their job. Okay, so we're using their format. Okay, and what this means is we can tell you with exact precision exactly where in the DNA this poisoning occurred. Okay, and you're looking at the addresses there. We actually found 16 of the sites were highly consistent across everybody. Okay, these are the 16 sites that we feel are responsible for the opioid crisis. 7 of these 16 sites were found in an area of the DNA called the promoter region. That's like the switch box on your house. You don't want to go. You don't want to be messing around in that thing. And that's why the symptoms that the people had were so profound, because some of the poisoning took place in the promoter region. Some of the methylation took place in the promoter region. People were poisoned in a very, very sensitive area of their DNA, the promoter region. Each one gene has one promoter region. This one gene is called the OPRM1 gene, OPRM1, opioid receptor mu1. That's what OPRM1 stands for. It tells you which gene it is. That's the main opioid receptor. That's the main one. That's the big opioid receptor. And this thing's old as ancient. It's like 400 million years old. It's as old as the opioid receptor came out in life about the same time as the hinged jaw. And you see the hinged jaw in all kinds of life forms on Earth. This is very old, primitive stuff. This isn't stuff you want to be messing around with. But the point was, you're looking at the actual poisoning. Okay, do we have proof of the poisoning? Yes, we do. It's right in front of you. Okay, is this proof accurate? Oh, 100% accurate. You're looking at evidence way more accurate than a fingerprint. Okay, you're looking at DNA evidence. Okay, this stuff doesn't lie. So if there's any question whatsoever as to whether we are right and they are wrong, no, it's right there in the DNA. When you took the opioids, it poisoned your DNA. When the poisoning reached some unknown threshold and you tried to stop taking the opioids, you got sick. You know, unfortunately, it's that simple. Okay, but unfortunately, the damage to your opioids, to our understanding, is irreversible and most likely inheritable. This is really bad stuff that happened because of the pharmaceutical companies, which is why we're writing the book. And this is why the proceeds from the book will help our people file the first mass tort lawsuits. Those are the type of lawsuits against companies for what's called failure to warn. So this is a type of law called product liability, and specifically, this product liability is called failure to warn. Okay, the pharmaceutical companies didn't warn the people of the genetic damage, and because the pharmaceutical companies didn't warn the people of the genetic damage, well, now they got to pay the price. Failure to warn. Okay, and the hope, I think we can do this. The hope is that the book will be the vehicle by which we can get these first mass tort lawsuits filed. We're not getting any credibility until we get these first mass tort lawsuits filed. Even then, it may be some time before we get some credibility, but we will get there. But these are not, they're expensive to file because you got to run the DNA. Okay, if your lawsuit says, hey, John Doe, this person here had genetic damage, you got to measure the genetic damage and put it in the lawsuit. Now you're talking about DNA testing, and as we've talked about, that's expensive stuff. So the proceeds from the book, they all go towards filing the first mass tort lawsuits. In fact, if you want to be one of the people with a lawsuit against the companies that did this to you, sell 25 books. Okay, that gives us the money to put together your lawsuit. Okay, it won't cost you anything. Just sell 25 books. It gives us the money to file your lawsuit, and it gets the information out there. Okay, spread the word. So I like that. That's two birds with one stone. I like that a lot. But the image that I wanted to show you today, the one that's on the screen in front of you, that's what poisoning looks like. There it is, right in front of you. That's what poisoning looks like. That's what that's what genetic damage looks like. Okay, we're actually measuring the poisoning. The type of poisoning, as you know, is called methylation. And you can see that the methylation levels in the red columns are taller than the methylation levels in the blue columns. It's that simple. That's what poisoning looks like. You are looking at the poisoning. Now, you may be impressed with how little poisoning it takes to get such massive symptoms, but that's the nature of DNA. And remember, this methylation turned off some parts of the DNA. Something important got turned off, and it doesn't take a whole lot of pressure to turn off a light switch, and it doesn't take a whole lot of methylation to turn off an important part of the DNA, and that's what happened. All right, we'll hold here for today. We'll be back tomorrow at 2:30. Always look forward to these podcasts. Please send me a message, send me an email, send me a text. Let me hear from you. I always enjoy hearing from our people. And don't forget to place this podcast on your social media, everybody else's social media. Don't forget to like and subscribe to us. And we will see everybody back here tomorrow at 2:30. Thanks. Bye.